Professor Luc Montagnier, who fast forward to several years later, he is the Nobel laureate, wins the Nobel Prize. And I don't remember what year it was, but you can look it up. He passed away, actually, if I'm not mistaken, he just passed away last year. So it's kind of like in his memory. He worked with HIV patients' blood, and in the plasma, he found an electromagnetic signal that was present in the blood of HIV patients. Well, he started using Jacques Benveniste's same hypothesis and experimentation, and essentially took the DNA from these HIV patients and diluted it, put it in a beaker or a container of some sort, and diluted it heavily with water, right? And so he eventually, to not bore you guys to death, he eventually diluted this substance so much that there was not a single molecule left in the sample. Okay. Right. So in some of the samples, not all of them, he did leave some in some of the samples, and that was precisely that, so he would have a placebo, and so that he would have an actual legit diluted quantity of the HIV virus. Okay. He had 10 placebo and 10 highly diluted solutions. Excuse me. So how did he go about testing this? So he takes all these solutions, both placebo and non, and he records the electromagnetic symbol and turns it into a digitized form. Okay. Now, he took 2 test tubes that were completely diluted samples, and they continued to emit this electromagnetic frequency. So once he did this, he uploaded this information from these completely 1000% zero molecule of HIV samples online, and asks the Italian University Benevento, which specializes in molecular biology. Okay, note, this is important. We're going to get into quantum, and we're going to be dealing with molecular. So it's important in your brain to keep the two separate. Okay, so they specialize in molecular biology. Well, he takes the data that was sent and digitized, and in Italy, I guess he's like the head there at the lab at the university, receives this digital signal in Italy from France. Okay, mind you, there's some serious distance in between both. And
there really is.
It's crazy. He puts some water, just regular water, in a test tube. Okay, and then in that test tube, he puts into like a small metallic barrel and covers it really well to make sure that there's no was it radioactive? Yeah, it was an anti-radiation chamber. That's exactly what it was, to avoid any potential distortion. So what does he do? Well, he plays the music of the electromagnetic digitized signal that was sent from France into this water. Okay. And then I think it was about for an hour.
I forgot about the resonance, the sound part of this.
Yeah.
It's such a cool experience.
I mean, all of this, that's why this is like, it's so crazy, because all of it's like, dude, you digitized the freaking thing. Like, it wasn't even in the same medium. And
right.
It's mind-boggling. Okay. So then they use the PCR machine, which basically, if I'm remembering right, basically shakes up the water intensely. I am not a scientist, obviously, guys. And then they put basic building blocks called nucleotides, which is just the basic organic material for DNA. Okay, production in this water.
Bits of protein,
but they're just pieces. They're not. There's no order to them. There's no structure. Right. There's no foundation even for them to do anything. And they also include what's called a polymerase. I think that's what it's called.
Mm-hmm. Polymerase.
And they use that as the catalyst, essentially, to stimulate these pieces. Okay, So when they put these nucleotides and they allow this polymerase to work as the catalyst, after having played this music for this unsuspecting water, the water
Just
freaking
water. Just water.
the water freaking reforms the DNA, the entire sequence. It reforms it. And then wait,
Of
it
that
gets better.
virus.
It gets better, okay? So at first it doesn't happen, but when they take the DNA fragments and they introduce it, the DNA begins to form with this catalyst present, okay? Now, so we already have here an amazing feat because across this ridiculous space and through different mediums, we have a
Yeah, and that's
recreation.
the thing.
That's crazy.
Right. To change up
So
the mediums the way they do. See, the only thing that makes sense of all of that to me, again, is electricity. Electricity can neither be created nor destroyed,
which is
just
where we're going actually.
transformed.
So so that's already beyond belief. But then what do they do? They reverse the exact same experiment back to France. Digitized signal from an actual physical molecularly formed DNA strand, blah 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 blah. Okay, and they send it back to France. Guess how freaking identical this DNA strand was to the original. What do you remember the
Totally
percentage, Shell?
did.
I have it on hand. Do you remember how much it was?
I think it's pretty much all
98%.
of it.
It was 98% identical.
That's crazy.
I mean, in scientific terms, on scientific levels, 98% accuracy is madness. I mean, it's
When you have something
replication.
with as many steps as this
Yeah.
process is, I mean, really,
And
their
and I
their
should mention
level.
the precautions that they take at the very beginning too are insane. When they go in to record, they're like, "Hey, we're not sure how this is going to work because we've never had any electronic equipment in
That's right.
in the lab. So please turn off your phones." They took their batteries out of their phones to make sure. We're talking
Like,
like
and
back in 2012.
they ended up making it so that they could only record with one certain
Yes.
camera because it had
Oh,
a
yeah, that's right.
really
That's right.
low
Super low.
emission
Yeah.
coming out, and so it wouldn't
Influence.
interfere. Like, it's really it's a
It's
very,
very, very impressive.
very
I will
impressive,
post this
experiment.
in the notes because it's very worth watching.
It is,
So
and you it's very easy to find if you put in Luc, oh, how
Montier,
did you say his name?
Montier,
Montier,
I think that's
spelled
right.
Montagnier,
Yeah.
and water
Stupid
memory,
French.
like, you pull them right up.
Yeah, yeah. So then they try to figure out. Well, they're like, what the heck is actually happening? This is crazy. Like, how is this possible? Well, in the documentary, an individual, Mark Henry, who's a chemical and quantum physicist, basically explains that although the matter is removed, the physical matter is removed, the electromagnetic the electromagnetic property or
Signal,
signal. I don't even know what the
marker.
heck else to call it. Yeah, the electromagnetic signal. That's exactly right. Is trapped within oxygen molecules that act like a barrier. They automatically form this little ring, and they trap the signal in there.
See?
But
The
it's because
polarity
water is
of
the medium, or
water.
otherwise they wouldn't stay there. That's insane.
Oh,
Okay,
amazing.
hey guys, we're the Christian Theological Dark Web Podcast.
We have a new podcast dropping almost every week. If you'd like to subscribe and get special content,
Oh, well, that's easy. Head on over to Spotify or to Patreon and sign up for only $3 a month.
thanks so much for checking out this video. If you'd like to see another, click a link.
Maranatha.
Maranatha.